Lunchtime-Tangle friends. I'm Annie. I'm a certified Zen-tangle teacher and a certified botanical illustrator. And today I'm going to show you two really fun patterns in one for one project. And they are called Lollywimple by Sandy Hunter. So this is Lollywimple here, here, and here. And I also did a sample of it here because I was looking at this and I thought, ooh, this could make kind of a cool looking sea urchin, sort of like this one was. But then I thought, let's try it with the center as being Wooly-zen-ball. And Wooly-zen-ball is by Ina Sonnenmoser or Ina Sonnenmoser. And that's this one here. And I just love the way it looks together. It looks like a Turkish turban or a sea urchin. You can color it black and white. It's stunning. It can be a great center for any project. So this is what we're going to do today. So the materials I'm using today is just a Zentangle tile or a piece of paper or your sketchbook. I'm going to be using a 01 Micron pen in black, just a soft graphite pencil. I've got my Zentangle one here extended with a pencil extender, and then a tortillion for blending our graphite. I always, like I say, have my kneaded eraser in case I need to lift the graphite and have highlights show better. I'm not going to show you how to draw this because that's just a waste of your time. And I actually took my little template here that I have, a little disc, and I traced around. And then at about 1.75 inches in, I just made another circle. And you can use a compass for this. This whole thing from here to here is like let's see, I think it's 2.75. Yeah, about 2.75 inches across. So you can make it as big or as small as you want. I think that you can just do it by hand if you'd like, but if you want it to be perfect, you can get a compass out. So this is our string, right? In the Zentangle world, that's what we call a string. And what we're going to do is we're going to go for making our perfs, or we call them orbs as well. And let me just show you this step out really quick because people ask me about that all the time. This is my Tangle Tag step out. And the important thing about this, we want to vary the size of the orbs when we place them sort of centered on the string lines. And we want to place them opposite each other as best as we can. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So I'm going to I'll start here with a nice large one, and notice that the line here is in the center of the orb or the perf. So I'm going to make another one here, adjacent or opposite. It's a little hard on the circle because this one is smaller, right? There's always going to be that difference. And here I am, varying the size. The larger you make these perfs here, the more fun it is to shade them as pearls, as you can see. If you make them really small, the pearl effect doesn't show as well. So this one's going to be down a little further. See, they're already a little bit off. Well, that's okay. When you're doing this on a ribbon, on a straight, two parallel lines, it's really easy to line those up. A lot harder here. In fact, I've got an extra one going in there, so I guess I can say don't worry about that so much. Okay, so there we have your regular orbs, and now we're going to do the tangle, which is basically aura-ing these orbs, but to the inside. And an aura means that we're going to echo or repeat the line given, but a little further away. And so we're going to start, we're going to also use this string line to start and stop aura-ing. And always we're going to aura to the inside, not the outside. Sometimes I get going on this so fast and then I forget and I start aura-ing on the outside, and then I have to start all over. So let's start here. And we're just going to do all the way around. So we've completed the aura on one side, and now we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. So we always want to we want to go back and forth, kind of like weaving, right? We want to just do one side and then do the other side and build our aura lines that way. This is a really great exercise in any aura line, is a great exercise in trying to be consistent with your line quality and your line distance. And the more you practice it, the better you get. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to go and do the exact same thing again, starting here on the other side. So I finished that row, and now I'm going to go on the inside. So these two are already touching. When that happens, you can just start up here a little ways and just go to the next one and do the same thing here until you get back into being able to aura that, sort of like we do crescent moon. Now we're on the third one, so let's start over here. Here you can make a decision. You can either go to this line, kind of weave it, or you can just stop here and aura like this. And I like to do this because when you shade, you get a really cool coil-like look. Then on this one, we go all the way down and pick this one up here. And this one, I would go ahead and weave it. Since I stopped here, I'm going to pick up my line here, but then I'm going to just continue to aura without going all the way down. And that's 4 for this one. So I think we'll do one more around here, and this is something you can vary how you want. I like having my mid space be very small, meaning there's not so much open negative space here. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more set inside. So this is determined by how far apart those beads or those orbs are set on your string. And if you want to go and make some of those a little bit smaller so they're more equal in size, this interstice area, you can go and just add some more aura lines until you get it just how you want. These are, I like this size, and I think these need to be a little bit more similar in size. So I'm just doing one more aura on the outside. No one's going to sit there and count. Really not. Okay, I think I am finished with the aura lines. Now comes a really important part that makes this just so cool. Now we're going to pick up those aura lines and we're going to join them to our orb like this. So the more aura lines you have, the more scalloped edges you're going to get, which is kind of fun. And that's why you don't want your band to be too narrow. The wider it is, the more aura lines you're going to get. So this really makes it look like those pearls are popping three-dimensionally off this ring, this almost like a bracelet, right? That one's complete, and now we're going to go and do the same thing to the outer edge of these orbs So you want to make sure that the line is, sort of in the center of the orb. That makes it look like it's popping up. If you just do it down here, then it's not going to be sitting as high up off of the ring. It's like a tiny C curve. Well, at least the way I draw. You might draw the opposite direction. I'm left-handed. Okay, so there is our completed line work for Lollywimple. Isn't that the funnest name you ever heard? If for no other reason to learn it than for the name, that's a good one. So now we're going to go in here and we're going to do our Wooly-zen-ball. You can either just do this freehand like this. Let me show you. You can either just wing it and do something like that. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pointed star. I believe Ina does a 5-pointed star, and I don't think it matters what you do. But if you want it to be really a little bit more exact, you could do a circle in the middle, approximately in the middle. And then you could do your points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that you go from point to point with your curve. So it's like a C curve, C curve, C curve, and you just join all of those points. And then we're going to start at the point and do sort of like our tangle well. We're just going to bow it out and come to a point and just go around. And there we have the start of our Wooly-zen-ball. And at this point, if you want, you can start to erase your lines here. They probably won't even show once you get shading in there, but the pearls will be more bright if you take that center line out, like here, right? Okay, so now we're just going to do that line work. We're going to do this whole exercise is aura lines. Starting here, we're going to aura this line here. This one doesn't have a lot of directional change. The beauty about this is getting some directional change, but see how these lines are here, and then this new one is going to have a little bit of a different direction. And that's the beauty of this. Oops. So now I'm just going to continue auraing this line here, not this one. Otherwise, there's no directional change. That first one I did was not the best example. So see how this line is a completely different direction from this line. And then when I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and weight this line because that's going to emphasize that overlap. So now I'm going to go around and do some line weighting, even down here in the corners. The other place that it's nice to weight your line is some out here. It doesn't have to be every one, like I always say, just give it some liveliness. See how that's just already looking much nicer than this boring homogeneous line. And that's something you can do at the end after you've done your shading if you'd like. But now we're ready to shade, and I'll show you how I shade. Obviously, there's always more than one way to shade anything. But in order to make this look like a turban popping up, I am going to shade all around this area that's the inner center. Do you notice how far back my hand is on my pencil? It's giving me a lot more control with my graphite stroke. Then here, where there's this overlap, I'm going to emphasize that line. And then we can drag some graphite up here to make it look like this is all bowing up and the highlight's going to be right there in the center. And then you're going to take your tortillion and blend. If you get too much graphite, as you know, you can just take your kneaded eraser and lift. I think this is pretty much just about right. And for the ring, you can lay your graphite along these areas where the aura lines meet. Just like we do with the shading of crescent moon. This is a very intense shading project. There's a lot of shading going on. And then we're going to blend this towards the center, leaving a highlight here in each rainbow sort of shape. Getting darkest where these lines meet up. See how this is becoming a three-dimensional sculpted surface, almost really and truly like a sea urchin. I had a cute, lovely little lizard friend for 8 years. Alibaba was his name, and he was a desert gecko. And he was a mandarin tangerine color. He was a designer gecko. And I loved him so very much. And he had a tail that was very similar to this, actually, with these spots coming up off of his little skin. Really pretty. So this is, like I said, it's a pretty intense shading project, which is wonderful. For me, I think I've said this before, I like shading. I find it just as zen as the line work. Once you get your recipe down and you know what you're going to do, right? Just you don't have to think about it anymore. You just go for it. And it's so soothing to watch everything kind of become three-dimensional while you're doing your shading. And now all we have left to do is, well, two things left to do. It's your choice. So this is left white, and it makes it look like this is an actual ring. And you could do some shading in there if you wanted it to be as if it were a hollow shell, and you're looking down into the center. So you could make it dark. You can also make these dark, which I actually do like to do. I think it emphasizes the two sides joining. Just laying some graphite down pretty quick and dirty and then blending it in there. You could even take your pen and go back on one side of these ridges and emphasize like this. You can even do a little bit of snodgrassing. That's that weighted line here. Makes it look like this is going way deep down. So that's kind of a cool look. I'm kind of scalloping where these lines join up. Just like we did here. Mimics that. It's really not part of Wooly-zen-ball, but it's just a little finishing touch you can do. You are the artist. You are in control. Okay, and now the only other thing we have left to do is make our beautiful little pearls. And there's a super simple way that I like to do, and that is, I've shown you before, just like a comma, especially on the big ones. The small ones, you can use what's left on your tortillion to kind of make a spherical shape. So you're going to have one side kind of darker and one side kind of lighter, but we're going to blend these commas out toward the right, and you see how we have that little area of highlight on the left, and it just makes this look like a shiny pearl. And then, of course, if you want, you can take your jelly roll and really emphasize that highlight with a dot in the left. And or if you need to lift anything, you can do that at this point. Generally speaking, when I lift anything, I go back and reblend just to have my transition really smooth. And then at this point, you can view this, as we've done in several of our other lessons, as a grisaille. And if you lift it even a little bit more, then you can go over this with different colors, just as I have done here. I actually left my graphite pretty dark on this one, but it looks sort of antique, and I kind of like that. And if you do use color, as you can see, then I went back in here with my white, a white pencil, and made some shimmers on those, which, you know, we have that here because it's left out in highlight, right? So we don't need that when it's just a black and white piece. But how pretty is that? Don't forget, I always forget to tell you, make sure you take your last look at this and hold it this way and that, and decide where you think you want your viewer to view this as up or down. And I think I'm just going to go like this, and I'm going to put my chop in the front, and I'm going to sign and date the back. So I just took a look at this again and noticed how flat it looked. I'm going back in with my graphite and adding some more around this edge just to make this whole ring pop even more and have a bit more of a dramatic look. Just seemed a bit flat to me. So when I looked at it compared to this, do you see how dramatic that is? I actually darkened both sides of the ring. That really made this turban pop. Definitely doing that here. All right, I think I'm actually finally finished. See you next time. That's it for today's tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled or to purchase my tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle Alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle.